Thank you. Let me respond to issues that were raised by Honorable Keitani. She wanted to know that, how we would ensure that sugar is not diverted, the raw sugar would not be diverted into the local market and not used for the intended purpose. First of all, by the way, let me clarify something that probably this committee needs to know, that we provide exemptions on a number of items, number of things, number of products in this country. It's not unique. Thank you. Let me respond to issues that were raised by Honorable Keitani. She wanted to know that, how we would ensure that sugar is not diverted, the raw sugar would not be diverted into the local market and not used for the intended purpose. First of all, by the way, let me clarify something that probably this committee needs to know, that we provide exemptions on a number of items, number of things, number of products in this country. It's not unique to sugar. Even steel for different use, for aid-funded or development-funded projects, and many other things. And it is the duty of the line ministry. The request comes from the line ministry. And it is the duty of the line ministry to ensure that the list, the master list that is provided, that those items that are imported, those items where we have either duty remission or exemption, are used or put to intended use. That is number one. But on this specific case, the reason why I even went a step further to convene and have an interagency team to monitor and ensure that the sugar that was imported was actually used for industrial use. There was a dispute. Kenya Revenue Authority had assessed this sugar and said that it is not raw sugar. KEBS, which is having the sole mandate of ensuring quality of products in this country, said it is raw sugar. Kenya Sugar Board said it is raw sugar. So there was that dispute. Now, when I convened the meeting, the first question that I asked was, if this sugar was put on the table today, can it be consumed? I remember asking that question as the chairman of the meeting. I was told by everyone that no. Therefore, I asked, is it industrial sugar or not? And they said, we agreed there that it was industrial sugar. KRA had issues with the coloring and all that. So we agreed there, and it was minuted, and everyone signed the minutes. Those who were present, the list is there. KRA, all these institutions, including the PSS, they signed the minutes and agreed that we form an interagency. That was my idea, that we form an interagency team to monitor that this sugar is not diverted into the local market, because then my concern went beyond my duty, my responsibility in terms of the fiscal, to even the human health, the Kenyan public health. Because if sugar that is brought into the country would be used for industrial use, would be diverted for human consumption, it would be unethical and it would be harmful to life. So I said that even though that is not part of my mandate, but I have a responsibility, and formed a team that was going to ensure that this sugar is only used for industrial use, led by the Kenya Sugar Board, because that is their responsibility. The responsibility of complying to make sure that sugar is not diverted into the market is the responsibility of the Kenya Sugar Board. And that is what we did. And we agreed that they will provide a report to me as the chairman of the committee, two interim reports and final report. They have done one. I'm waiting for the second. I am told that out of the mere 28,000 metric tons, about 6,000 has been put to further refining. So that is the response that I would give in terms of how we were going to ensure that this sugar is not diverted into the market.
Order CS.
Yes.
Is it not true that it is your responsibility to make sure that if goods are leaving to be as raw material to be manufactured or refined into sugar, you have to do it under the law, which is under you, maybe under customs warehouse, custom bonded warehouse, or under special economic zone, so that you are sure that the taxes that you have given or that have been suspended are actually taken care of.
Mr. Chairman, if you look at my letter, it's very clear what I said and what that within Kenya Revenue Authority had a responsibility. But beyond that, we formed an interagency team as a matter of precaution, including even security organs, because this was not it was not an ordinary matter. This was a unique matter, where we had a dispute between an industrialist who was feeling that he's being harassed. Actually, the report that came from the State Department for Industry was that we were harassing an industrialist.
Yes, I'm just asking, in customs, if you have to secure Kenya from losing taxes, you either manufacture under bond, you either manufacture under special economic zone. What prevents you? Because Mombasa Sugar Refinery in Kibos is not under any of that arrangement, which means sugar can move out and in at any time.
Mr. Chairman, the sugar for industrial use, the law would allow, and I would come to that we allowed the importation, we exempted the two levies under public interest, which is provided in law. All right? But we went a step further to ensure that this sugar is not diverted into the market.
Allow me, Chair. I asked that question specifically because we have visited Kibos, and the situation and the scenario, and we have also interacted with KRA. The situation and the scenario that has been presented does not have any control whatsoever. In fact, where the sugar is being manufactured and where the normal sugar is being manufactured is separated by a gate that is not protected, not controlled, not done anything. And that is why I ask, because you gave the permission or the authority, and in your letter and your paragraphs, you have said that the authority was solely only for production to industrial. If there is diversion, all the taxes should be collected. So in this case, what did you do to ensure that that is the case, so that the Kenyan public, because we talk about 2.9 billion in terms of taxes, so the Kenyan public does not lose 2.9 billion?
You know, Chair, this to me is a very straightforward answer. We have two institutions that has the responsibility to ensure that what we agreed on was complied with. If those two institutions fail, then I know they have failed. It's the Kenya Sugar Board and the Kenya Revenue Authority. They are supposed to ensure that this sugar is only for industrial use. And we are very clear. You look at the minutes, it's very clear. If they didn't have the capacity, they would have told me in the meeting that they have no capacity. But they assured the committee that they have the capacity. And I still believe up to now that they have the capacity. The report I have is not portraying what the honorable member is saying. The report I have is that they have the capacity and they are ensuring that this sugar is put to industrial use. Actually, as a matter of fact, I will tell you that the confirmation I got from the same institution is that 6,000, close to 6,000 metric tons has been processed. Still leaving, out of the 28,000, still leaving about 22,000 intact, not processed. So these institutions have the capacity. And in terms of relocation of the company to Mombasa.
Point of order.
Allow me, Chair. So if 6,000 have been processed, is it possible that we get that report that has been sent to you so that we see how those that matrix is used, and more importantly, that 6,000 that is converted, who has it been sold to? If it's possible to know who it has been sold to, because we know selling refined sugar is not to the public. There are specific industries only that can buy refined sugar. So is it possible also to tell us that actually the 6,000 has been converted to refined and sold to these specific people?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, the interim report can be provided, the first interim report. I don't know whether it was attached, but it can be provided. The issue of the 6,000 metric tons probably is not in the report, because I asked that verbally when I was coming to appear, just to get to know how much has been processed. But you see, Mr. Chairman, we have put the responsibility of ensuring compliance on the Kenya Sugar Board and KRA. If Kenya Sugar Board fails to ensure compliance, then we know they have failed. But I don't think National Treasury CS would go and follow sugar processed, sold to people who are making beverages, making pharmaceuticals. That is outside my province. I provided direction here because there was a dispute. And this dispute was interministerial. The State Department for Industry was very unhappy. Agriculture, Kenya Sugar Board, that we are discouraging investment by having tax collector. Actually, I came to this matter because of tax issue. The tax collector, and one of us asked, I think Honorable Undo, whether it is normal. I want to say it is normal, very normal, for me to intervene. You see, Kenya Revenue Authority is a tax collector. Tax policy is with me. It's not with Kenya Revenue Authority. That is the law. It is with the CS National Treasury. And every day I intervene where there is a conflict or misunderstanding between the tax collector and on policy matters. And this was clearly a policy issue, whether this was an industrial sugar or it is sugar that was that was processed already. So when this matter came to me on tax issue, I just went a step further because I got curious that in the event that this sugar would not be put to industrial use, it is not just about the penalties. Penalties is okay. We can reclaim, get the IDF or RDL. But what of human life? That is where it concerned me. That is why I formed the multi-agency task force, the team, to monitor and ensure and report back to me. And they have done one interim report, whether the sugar is put to industrial use. So I just went a step further. Actually, it is not really my responsibility. It is the Kenya Sugar Board to ensure that this sugar is put to proper use. So on the issue of certainty of relocation, the letters I got is that this factory has been relocated from Kibos to Mombasa, and it has changed the name. And the letters are there from the State Departments. So as to whether that was done legally, procedurally, those who are registering companies have the answers. On paragraph 8, IDF and RDF, let me just check what it was. Yeah, the law actually allows, if you look at my letter, I actually just mentioned that we allowed, in my letter, IDF and RDL, because that is what the law allows the Cabinet Secretary to exempt. VAT, I am not having any powers to allow that. I can only abandon tax, by the way. But that must also be justified after the tax falls due. But in this case, there was no tax abandonment. I don't know where the figure of 2.9 billion is coming from, which I think is incorrect. And by the way, import duty is provided under East African Community Gazette. It is standard. The duty remission is provided. It's a regional thing. It's not a favor that we are giving this company. Excise duty is exempted under the Excise Duty Act, and that is under Schedule through the Tax Laws Amendment of 2024. We have that first schedule exempting, providing excise duty exemption. So it is only IDF and RDL which I granted. And just to tie it, maybe before I come to public interest, the letter that Chris Kipto, the Principal Secretary, wrote on 17th July 2025, speaking to approval from the CS, the Cabinet Secretary. I did not write any letter to the PS. The way we operate at the Treasury is if there are decisions which can be communicated by Principal Secretary, but have to come to me for approval, and it comes in a form of a file. So if you go back to the file, you will find my approval. I will have indicated approved, and I put the date, which is the 15th July. Once I approve, the PS takes that file with my approval and writes a letter now to the outside, to the third party, informing them that the Cabinet Secretary has already approved this under these conditions. So since I've not denied that I gave the approval, the letter from the Principal Secretary is a letter from the National Treasury, writing on my behalf, approving the exemptions of Railway Development Levy and Import Declaration Fee, IDF. So there is no letter. I am sure there is no letter, but there is approval in the file to the Principal Secretary to communicate. So you asked a letter approving the release, that it was approval in the file. Now, on the issue of public participation, paragraph 24, and I want to go to that paragraph. I want to just take Honorable Undo to that paragraph. And he said they donated an expert. I still believe, Honorable Undo, I'm a serious expert, unless you have some doubts. But just listen to what I have written. The legal framework governing import declaration fee and railway development levy also permits the Cabinet Secretary to exempt goods and any good where the exemption is in the public interest or is intended to promote an investment whose value is not less than 5 billion. They are not mutually exclusive. It is either or. So I didn't have to look into the value of investment. I know it's 2 million US dollars. The 5 billion is not the legal framework under which I approved the Railway Development Levy and IDF. I approved it under public interest. And I stopped there. Or I just put or here because it is the law. So you read it in full. But it is either or. It is not public interest and. If it was and, then you'd accuse me of violating any law. But this is or. So the only question I need to address, how did I ascertain or convince myself that this is public interest? I think that is now where I would go to. Mr. Chairman, we have talked in this country and complained a lot about how we are inhibiting and interfering with job creation, that we are interfering with investment with unnecessary taxes. Now, when the law provides opportunity to promote investment by exempting taxes or levies to support job creation, then we want to ask ourselves, why was it done? And the question I ask myself, why did Parliament say public interest? And I have heard, Honorable Undo, you have said that public interest would have involved public participation. There is nothing that was difficult for Parliament to add, that public interest after public participation. I don't think CS National Treasury would be at the National Treasury and conduct public participation on everything that comes to the National Treasury. I would not even do anything. I would be in the field all the time. Public interest is governed by many things. And here, the State Department responsible requested for this. And the letters are there. Agriculture said the same. State Department for Investment said the same. Now, my duty was to ask, and creation of direct and indirect employment opportunities. We were told that this company has created over 700.
Order,
Chair,
CS.
Point